Aaron Rodgers and the Packers wind up the #1 seed, all they need to do is win in Detroit today and root hard for Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch on Sunday Night Football. If that happens, unbelievably, the NFC playoffs go through Green Bay. As you can see, there are other options as we hand things over to the low zone and our three tools. Steve.
All right, we are now in the low zone, everybody, and we're going to talk about which NFC team, Kurt Warner, you go first, needs the #1 seed.
Well, I'll tell you what, this one is easy for me. I mean, it is the Seattle Seahawks, because with the Seattle Seahawks, it's all about the 12s, right? It's all about the 12s.
Is that a 12?
Once they get there,
Is that a 12?
it's all about because once they get those fans rolling, I mean, once they are rolling, there's no other quarterback going into the NFC playoffs that is undefeated at home. So you get those fans going. It is so hard to communicate up there with those fans yelling at you.
Yes,
right?
yeah, that's cool.
But here's the key to everything, right? Is that they got a lot of injuries and lots of things are falling apart, right? And they need something to keep everything together.
Like what?
Well, they just found the linchpin to everything.
I thought you were
Seattle.
it's the key.
They found the linchpin to everything. We're going to amp up the fans. They're going to go crazy if they get home field advantage in Seattle.
You have way too much coffee in you today.
That is a good one, Coach Kurt. But I want to borrow that because I go to New Orleans. I go to New Orleans, and that is where those fans are very important. But also, let me tell you why New Orleans needs home field advantage. New Orleans 5-6-1 at home in the playoffs really should be 7-0 because of that bad call last year. But I'm telling you, when they get you at home, it's Drew Brees and King Guard Mike. They start cutting you down, but they cut you down because they'll never. You can't be stopped. They're on fire this year right now. They're on fire this year. He has 10 games. 10 games. He has 9 games where he caught at least 10 receptions. Yeah. King Guard Mike, he just dusts every DB on his way. He grills them down, and if they get outside, see, you can't let them get outside because the wind outside in the rain takes away their great game. Trust me. This is I don't know what that is.
It's a sander.
New Orleans need it.
It's a sander.
New Orleans need it. I wanted to use that right there.
Did you buy that at Lowe's or did you bring that from home?
I got it all from Lowe's. Best place in the world, man.
My team is the Green Bay Packers. They don't want to come to the West Coast. They already got beat down in Levi Stadium.
Yes, they did.
So you stay home in the frozen tundra because it gets a little chilly over there. And I caution you guys, you're going to get frostbite if you don't dress properly over there, right? You know what they do before they tailgate? They all go ice fishing. You got to drill through the ice like you and I did. Remember you and I went through ice fishing. You know what? And when your players get on the bus, you got to put chains on the tires, bust it, run off the side of the road. Because, how about the tape measure? How much is going to snow? It might be 12 inches.
A whole bunch? Oh, you don't want to help?
It might snow over there. And you know what? You got to have one of these. You got to have one of these from Lowe's to keep your hands nice and warm.
Keep your hands nice and warm. Keep it warm in there.
That's a frozen piece of cheese.
What do you do with Oh, it's a frozen piece of cheese.
There you go. That's fine. I think we better get out of here. Let's go to Rap Sheet, all right? Rap Sheet. And inactives, Rap.
Grill that thing down.
I will rescue you guys after that. So here's what we need to know. The Patriots are going to have, it's official now, Julian Edelman, their star receiver. He is active, dealing with a shoulder injury, also a knee injury. No issues there. He's actually feeling better than he has recently. Sony Michel, their starting running back, who came down with an illness, also officially active. Both those guys are good. So is Odell Beckham, the Browns star receiver. He came down with food poisoning on Friday, didn't practice, hasn't done much of anything. Is feeling good enough to be able to play today. In 1,000 yards is in reach for Odell. Another player who is battling some things, Jameis Winston, who has a broken thumb, is going to be active for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today. All good there. He is trying to end the season on a high note. Meanwhile, there are several teams that are resting key starters. Among them, the Minnesota Vikings are not going to have Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, several of their starters. The Houston Texans are not going to start Deshaun Watson. He actually is going to be the backup. Many of their key guys, including DeAndre Hopkins, not going to play. The Buffalo Bills also have several starters among their inactives too. Nothing to gain for any of those teams. And now let's send it to Michael Fabiano with some fantasy stuff.
Thanks, Rap. That's why you don't play your fantasy championship in Week 17. It's time for the DraftKings Fantasy Preview because DFS, you can play that all season long. And you can see that I love the Eagles and their pass catchers. Carson Wentz, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz is not playing this week. That means Goddard should see a ton of targets. So should Devontae Adams and Courtland Sutton in potential smash spots for these respective teams. I love Alvin Kamara. Did you know the Carolina Panthers have given up the most touchdowns to running backs since the '86 Buccaneers? And oh, by the way, Raquel Armstead should see a lot of volume with Leonard Fournette out this week.
DraftKings is the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. And today only, new players can play free for $1 million in prizes with your first deposit. Download the app and sign up using promo code GameDay.
Okay, so Lamar Jackson, as we all know, isn't playing today, and his season has been historic. It's been breathtaking, and it is most valuable. We all believe he's going to be the guy who is the MVP. So it's time to give out the awards for the season. And we start with the man who has just gobbled up the lock of the week all season long by stating the obvious. And, Michael, that's why we give you the MVP award to give out, sir.
Yes, and it is obvious, I will say this year, that this man is the MVP, man. 1,206 rushing yards, which sets a single-season rushing record for quarterbacks. And then 36 touchdown passes. You're doing one while you're doing the other. That makes you the MVP of the league. But I want to give some thoughts and some love and some honorable mentions to my man Michael Thomas. If we should at least give him the Offensive Player of the Year. You don't set records like that at receivers and not give a man anything. Now let's go over to Kurt.
Oh, he's knocking out. Little foreshadowing there by Rich. Defensive Player of the Year. That's not an easy one. If it was me, I would give it to Chandler Jones. Got 19 sacks, 8 forced fumbles. With one more sack, he becomes the first player in NFL history to have 20 and 8 or more forced fumbles. But I don't believe he's going to win it on a team that's not doing very well. I believe this guy right there on your screen, Stephon Gilmore, leading the best defense in total yards, the best defense in scoring, and he's only given up 1 touchdown pass all year long. So Stephon Gilmore, in my opinion, will win Defensive Player of the Year. I got the ball back, Mooch.
Yeah.
You ready? Wait. Let's go.
Oh, come on. What's the matter with you, Rich? All right, I get to talk about Coach of the Year. And you know what? To me, this one's an easy one because Kyle Shanahan has his team 12-3 this year. One more win. They're the #1 seed. You know, Michael Irvin talks a lot about distance traveled. You know what? The Niners won 4 games last year. And with all these injuries and some doubters, he has really got a heck of a team put together. We knew that he was a great play caller, but he's really turning into a fine head coach. He gets my Coach of the Year vote, Kyle Shanahan. And how about Travis Kelce, man? This guy can play. He's getting ready to play the Chargers, one of the great tight ends.
Program notable in part for a couple of things. One, the glaring omission of the freshly minted all-time leader in passing yards, touchdowns, completion, and completion percentage, just to name a few for Breeze. And 2, the in-studio pairing you thought you'd never see. Affable and engaging television analyst Bill Belichick welcoming in leadoff in-person guest Tom Brady. The stuff was, well, legendary.
When did you know that he was something a little bit different?
Well, Tom was special his rookie year. Even though he didn't play, his leadership with the other rookies in the class, we had a big rookie class. Tom took them every day after practice and would run them up and down the field in their offensive plays, and was clearly a leader on the field. And then, had a very good training camp in 2001. Kind of the crossroads was in the middle of the 2001 season when we played the Rams. That was the week that Drew had come back, and so I split the reps between Tom and Drew that week. And the Rams beat us in that regular season game on Sunday night.
Warner straight back. Sets up, now steps up, fires for the end zone, caught, touchdown Rams.
And I didn't think that was Tom's best game, but in retrospect, I looked at it and thought that it would be hard for anybody to play well, only getting half the reps. So the following week against New Orleans, I said, we're just going with Tom, and he's going to get all the reps, and he's going to play.
That's what Mr. Kraft's paying me to do, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make the decisions that I think are the best for the football team. T-E-A-M as in team.
You played very well in that game, and I think that's one of the real trademarks of Tom's career is there've been a couple games along the way where it hasn't been his best, but the next game has always come back and been, an outstanding game. So that was a real turning point, I would say, in in that season and ultimately in the evolution of you know, Tom's great career.
Tom, are you aware that he thought you were special, part of the rookie class at the time? Is that news to you right now, or did you know that?
Yes and no. I mean, I think having him putting me on the field, I knew that he was confident in me. And obviously, over a lot of years of playing for him, I realized that he was always going to play, you know, the person that he thought was best for the team. And he'll tell you all the time, it doesn't matter where you come from. You know, I don't give a where you were drafted, how we got you here. You know, you're here to win. And if you're not the best guy, you know, you're not playing. I think that was a great opportunity for me, who's someone who was, you know, a late round pick. And you think, God, that guy's going to get a lot more chances. And, you know, it wasn't the case. He felt like, you know, if you were on the team, you showed it on the practice field, you delivered when it mattered the most, and, you know, you were going to get another shot to get out there and play.
I mean, what a show it was. And then Favre and Roger Staubach showed up in person. That's 30% of the NFL 100 all-time team quarterbacks list. Ball, Brady, Elway, Favre, Graham, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Joe Montana, Staubach, and Johnny Yu. Just 10 guys. So you knew there would be some people left off, including some future first ballot Hall of Famers. They're going to join Kurt and Irv in the Hall of Fame one day. Hall of Famers only, presented by Geico. Take it away, guys.
All right, let's just keep it. Man, cool. So many of my heroes on that list and contemporaries that I got a chance to watch play. So let's keep it simple. Best quarterback you ever watched play?
Well, you know, and Kurt, as we look at this, you know, listen, I was blessed to play with one of the greatest in Troy Aikman and watch him play. But when we talk about just purely watching, not somebody I played with, I go back to my young days, man, watching Dan Marino play against Miami. You know, my wife was a cheerleader for the Dolphins at the time, so I used to go and watch some of those games. And man, I was like, oh my God, watching this dude throw. This dude, the first man to throw for 5,000 yards. You know, led the league in pass yards 5 different times. And I used to watch him throw that seam route because it was new to me. I had never really seen anybody throw those seam routes. He hit Duper and Clayton with those routes, man. I thought it was incredible. I wanted so badly to play with him. He's the only man on my championship wall at home in my what they call them, manscaped rooms. He's the only guy that I have in my wall. Man cave room, yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
Man cave.
I mean, you're right. I mean, he was incredible. I remember when I hit 41 touchdown passes, and it became the second person ever to hit 40. That dude had done it twice already.
Right.
You know, a generation before when guys weren't throwing for those kind of yards and those kind of touchdowns. This one's so hard for me because I look at the quarterback position, and I love the quarterback position, and so many great ones on that list that do something special. I mean, Tom Brady, how do you argue with that guy? The best big moment quarterback that I've ever seen. How about Peyton Manning? I mean, what he did before the snap, we all wanted to be able to do, but we couldn't do it. You know, I was so much better after the snap. He brought in a new era of all this changing of plays and signaling that he had. I mean, Drew Brees, who didn't even